Silence can be louder than noise. Not the kind of silence that brings peace, but the kind that presses in on you, that sits with you and refuses to leave. That was the kind of silence Eliana had grown used to. It followed her from room to room. It waited for her in the morning and lingered long after the day had ended. After that night, something shifted, but not in the way she had hoped. The prayer she whispered, "God, where are you?" did not bring an answer. Not immediately. Not in a way she could recognize. The next morning came, like every other morning. Heavy, slow, uninvited. She opened her eyes and for a moment forgot everything. But only for a moment, because then it returned. The weight, the thoughts, the quiet reminder that nothing had changed. She stayed in bed longer than usual. Not because she was resting, but because getting up meant facing the same reality again. And that day, she did something small. Something almost unnoticeable, but it mattered. She ignored a message. A simple message from someone who cared. At first, it was just one message, then another, then a call, then another, until eventually silence became easier than conversation. Sunday came. She knew it was Sunday. She always knew. Her body had been trained for it for years. Wake up, get ready, go to church. There was a time she would never have done that. A time when worship filled her, when songs moved her, when God felt close. Now, it all felt out of reach. The guilt came quietly, not loud, not accusing, just present. You should pray. You should try. You should go back. But even those thoughts felt exhausting, because trying again meant risking disappointment again. And she wasn't sure she could handle that. Not again. Not now. Days began to blur together. Morning, afternoon, evening. They all felt the same. She stopped checking certain things, stopped expecting certain things, stopped hoping in the way she used to. Sometimes she would scroll through her phone, seeing others moving forward, new jobs, new opportunities, new beginnings. And she would pause and wonder, what about me? She didn't recognize herself anymore. Not fully, not clearly, just fragments of who she used to be. One afternoon, she stood in front of the mirror, looking but not really seeing. "Who am I becoming?" she whispered. And the question stayed there. Even prayer felt different now. Not because she didn't believe, but because she didn't feel. She tried once, sat down, closed her eyes, waited. Nothing came. No words, no emotion, just silence. So she opened her eyes again and gave up, quietly. That evening felt heavier than the rest, hoping something happened. But nothing did. She sat in the same room, the same chair, the same silence, and realized how far she had drifted. Not away from God completely, but away from closeness. And that distance felt impossible to cross. She looked around the room again, at the familiar things, the quiet corners, the life she was still living, and something in her wanted to change. Not loudly, not dramatically, just something. She stood up slowly, walked toward her room. Not with purpose, just movement. And as she passed her wardrobe, she paused, trying to remember something, but nothing. She didn't open it, not yet, but something about it felt important. Sometimes the turning point doesn't feel like a turning point. It feels like nothing, just a pause, a moment, a breath. And for Eliana, that pause was about to change everything. Sunday mornings used to have a rhythm, but this one felt different. She wasn't at peace, but she wasn't completely heavy either, just restless. It was the kind of restlessness that wouldn't let her stay still. Not enough to give her direction, but enough to make her move. She looked around her room, at the corners she had ignored, at the small things she had postponed. And then she remembered. The cupboard. It had been there, waiting. For days, then weeks, then months. She had told herself many times, "I'll clean it tomorrow. I'll get to it later." But later never came. Until now. Without overthinking it, she stood up, walked toward it, and opened it. Dust, old papers, forgotten things, pieces of a life she had once been in control of. She began to clean, slowly, quietly, not in a rush, just doing something. At some point, she started humming, softly, without thinking. A melody she didn't even recognize. And for a moment, the room didn't feel as heavy. Not completely light, but lighter. Then she saw it. Small, faded, almost hidden. A sticker stuck carefully to the back of the cupboard, as if it had been waiting. She leaned closer, brushed away the dust, and read the words slowly. "We live by faith, not by sight." Her breath caught. For a second, she just stared at it, as though she didn't recognize it, as though it didn't belong to her. But it did. She had written it years ago, and somehow she had completely forgotten. "How?" she whispered. "How did I forget this?" Her eyes softened, and something inside her began to open. Not fully, but enough. Because suddenly, she remembered. A different time, a different version of her. Same room, different heart. Back then, she was searching for her first job, sending applications, waiting, hoping. And just like now, nothing seemed to work. Doors stayed closed, responses were slow, or didn't come at all. Until one Sunday, she heard it. A message. Simple. Almost too simple. "We live by faith, not by sight." The pastor had said, "As Christians, we are called to live by faith and not by sight, to focus on the Word of God, irrespective of whatever is going on around us. It doesn't come easy, but we have to be determined to do it." She remembered thinking, it can't be that simple. There has to be more. But something in her told her she has nothing to lose. She had been worrying all along, and nothing had come through. She remembered taking a decision to try anyway. Every morning, she would stand in front of the mirror, look at herself, and speak. "I am Eliana. I am just, and I live by faith." She said it when she felt strong. She said it when she felt nothing. She said it. After rejection emails, after silence, after disappointment. She refused to focus on what she could see and chose instead to believe. Day after day, nothing changed. It seemed that it was not working, but she was determined to continue in it. After all, this was the Word of God. The whole earth was created on this Word. She had believed this Word. She had given her life to Jesus on this Word. So she continued on the Word, declaring that she lives by faith and not by sight. Then one day, she was in a supermarket. An ordinary day, an ordinary moment. And then, she heard her name. She turned towards the voice, and she saw him. Joanne's father. A familiar face from a distant past. They talked, caught up. She asked after Joanne. Joanne had been her schoolmate in the university. She had helped Joanne secure accommodation in school when she was having difficulty getting one. The dad smiled and answered that she was doing great. And then he asked, "So, what are you doing now?" She hesitated, then answered honestly, "I'm still looking." Something changed in his expression. Recognition, memory, possibility. "Come to my office on Tuesday," he said. "Bring your CV." And just like that, a door opened. Not slowly, not gradually, but suddenly. She went to the office on Tuesday. He had someone from the HR department waiting for her. The rest is history, nothing short of a miracle. They had an opening that she qualified for, and everything changed. That job wasn't just a job. It was an answer, a response, a reminder. She worked there for years. It was some of her best years, doing what she loved. And yet, she left the job after about 5 years for something she thought was better. Greener grass. And when everything fell apart, she was let go about 1.5 months ago. After years of working in the company, she couldn't go back to Joanne's dad. Not because she wasn't allowed, but because she felt ashamed. Now she stood there holding the sticker in silence. "It can't be this simple again," she whispered. "Can it?" But something deep inside her remembered. This was exactly how she felt years ago. She took a chance on faith then. She saw it work for her firsthand. Surely it's worth trusting her faith again. Stay tuned for episode 3. Please subscribe and share.